let me ask you something. What would you do if the person serving your morning coffee turned out to be a war hero who once ran into flames to save lives? It sounds unbelievable, right? But that's exactly what happened in a small town diner one ordinary morning. What unfolded left everyone in shock, destroyed one arrogant bully in front of a crowd, and went viral across the entire internet. But before I tell you how it all came crashing down, let me take you to that diner because the truth is even crazier than you think. The bell above the door jingled. Another customer had just walked in, but this wasn't the kind of man who brought kindness or laughter. He brought trouble. His name was Chad Morrison. Picture him, tall, muscular, chest puffed out like he owned the world. He walked in with his construction crew behind him, and the atmosphere instantly shifted. You know that uneasy feeling in the air before a thunderstorm? That's what it felt like. Everyone in the diner knew something ugly was about to happen. Chad's eyes scanned the room like a predator searching for prey. And the moment he spotted Sarah, the waitress, he smirked. That smirk was a warning sign. His crew knew it meant someone was about to be humiliated for his entertainment. This was their routine: pick a target, make them feel small, laugh, and move on. But today, Sarah was the unlucky one. "Hey, waitress!" Chad's voice boomed across the diner. "Why are you dressed like it's the middle of winter? What are you hiding under all that fabric? Scars? Something gross?" His crew burst out laughing, echoing him like hyenas backing up their lion. The other diners lowered their heads, pretending not to hear. Newspapers lifted higher. Coffee cups became more interesting, eyes glued anywhere but Sarah. Nobody wanted to step in. That's how bullies thrive, through silence. But Sarah didn't flinch. She calmly approached with her notepad and asked, "Good morning, gentlemen. What can I get started for you today?" Her voice was steady. No fear, no anger, just composure. And that composure only made Chad more aggressive. Bullies feed on reactions, and Sarah gave him none. Here's what nobody knew yet. Sarah wasn't just a waitress. She had lived through horrors Chad could never imagine, and the scars she kept hidden under her sleeves weren't from what he thought. They were earned on a battlefield half a world away. But Chad was about to expose them in the cruelest way possible. In the corner of the diner, a man named Michael was quietly watching. His hands trembled as he clutched a worn photograph in his pocket. He had been searching for years, and something about Sarah's presence tugged at his memory. Could it be her? Could this ordinary waitress be the medic who once dragged him from the fire in Iraq? He needed proof, and soon he would get it. Chad wasn't finished. He pulled 2 crumpled dollar bills from his pocket and tossed them onto the floor at Sarah's feet. "Why, there's your tip, sweetheart. Maybe buy yourself some scar cream?" The crew roared with laughter. Sarah bent to pick them up, staying calm. But Chad shoved her shoulder hard and her sleeve slipped back. That's when the entire diner went silent, because on her forearm, partly hidden, was not just a scar, it was a tattoo, an insignia. 3rd Infantry Division. Ramadi 2006, crossed rifles, a mark that couldn't be faked, the kind of tattoo carried only by someone who had served and sacrificed on the battlefield. Michael's coffee cup rattled on the table as he stood up, eyes locked on the tattoo. His voice cracked as he spoke, loud enough for everyone to hear. 3rd Infantry, Ramadi 2006. The room froze. Sarah's face went pale. Her hands shook. She had tried for years to bury that past, to live quietly, to escape the shadows of war, and now, in an instant, her secret was out. The crew stopped laughing. The diners finally looked up, and Chad, for the first time, didn't know what to say because he hadn't just mocked a waitress. He had mocked a soldier, a survivor, a hero, but this was only the beginning, because what Michael was about to reveal next would change everything. The diner was frozen in silence. Coffee cups hovered midair, forks paused above plates. Even the jukebox seemed quieter. Everyone's eyes locked on Sarah's arm. That tattoo wasn't just ink. It was a story, a history, a battle scar turned into a badge of honor. Michael's voice trembled, but it carried. 3rd Infantry, Ramadi, 2006. His eyes glistened as he spoke. Sarah froze, her breath quick and shallow. She had fought so hard to leave that life behind, and now, in the middle of a diner, her secret was laid bare. Chad's smirk faltered. His crew shifted uneasily. They had never seen him speechless before, but even he knew this was different. Mocking a waitress was one thing. Mocking a veteran, that was dangerous ground. Still, Chad wasn't the type to back down. His pride wouldn't let him. He sneered, trying to recover. So what? A tattoo doesn't make you special. Anyone can ink a story on their skin, but Michael slammed his hand on the table, his voice rising with emotion. That's not just ink. That's blood, sweat, fire, and sacrifice. That's Ramadi. That's where my unit was ambushed, and that's where she saved my life. The entire diner gasped. Heads turned. Sarah's face went pale, her hand instinctively pulling her sleeve back down. Please, she whispered, her voice breaking. Don't. But Michael stepped forward, pulling the photo from his pocket. A photo he had carried for nearly 2 decades. He held it up with shaking hands. In it, a young soldier knelt in the dust, her uniform torn, her face smeared with ash and blood, tending to a wounded comrade. His comrade, him. He pointed at the picture, then at Sarah. This is her. 18 years ago, when the world was falling apart, she didn't run. She dragged me out of the fire. She shielded me when the second explosion hit. She gave me a second chance at life, and all this time, she's been right here, serving coffee, carrying scars nobody bothered to ask about. The photo circulated quickly. Diners leaned in, eyes wide with disbelief. Gasps filled the air. The quiet woman they'd seen every morning, who never complained, who always smiled politely, no matter how rude customers were. She was a hero, but Chad couldn't stand it. His ego screamed louder than reason. He pushed forward, trying to laugh it off. It's a hero. Please, if she was so tough, why is she hiding in some diner flipping pancakes? Real heroes don't need to cover their scars. This time, the laughter didn't come. His crew stayed silent. The other customers didn't look away. For once, Chad was alone. Sarah's hands trembled, but her voice cut through the silence. Nicolina, do you think I wanted these scars? Do you think I wake up proud of them every day? I watched friends die. I carried bodies I couldn't save. And when I came home, do you know what people like you gave me? Silence, stares, whispers. Do you think it's easy to serve coffee with arms that remind you of every scream, every explosion, every night you begged for sleep that never came? Her words cracked, raw and unfiltered. For a moment, nobody breathed. Even Chad seemed unsure, caught between his pride and the weight of truth pressing against him. Then Michael stepped closer, his voice steadier now. She doesn't need to prove herself to you. She already proved it on the battlefield. You want to know why she's here? Because real strength isn't about showing off. It's about carrying pain so heavy, most people would crumble, and doing it quietly every single day. The diner erupted, not in applause, not yet, but in murmurs of agreement. Heads nodded, eyes welled up. Strangers who had sat quietly minutes before now looked at Sarah with respect instead of indifference. But Chad's pride wasn't done. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight. You think a sob story is going to change what I see? To me, she's still just a scarred-up waitress. That's all. This time, his crew didn't back him up. They exchanged uneasy glances. One even muttered under his breath, "Man, let it go." The tension thickened. Sarah's chest rose and fell rapidly. Michael's hand gripped the photo tighter, knuckles white, and then a voice from the back of the diner spoke up. An older man, his voice gravelly but firm. "I know that tattoo." All heads turned. He slowly rolled up his sleeve to reveal his own faded ink. Different unit, same war. 3rd Infantry, Ramadi. I was there, not with her unit, but close enough. We all heard about the medic who shielded her men during the fire. They called her the Guardian. Gasps echoed again. Sarah's eyes widened, tears forming. She hadn't heard that name in years. Not since the sand, the smoke, the chaos of battle. And now, here it was, echoing in a small diner on an ordinary morning. The old veteran stood, his back straight despite the years. "Son," he said, looking directly at Chad, "you don't know who you're talking to, but I do, and you should be ashamed." The diner exhaled collectively. The tension eased, if only slightly. People returned to their seats, though their eyes never left Sarah. Respect hung heavy in the air, but Sarah's battle wasn't over, not even close, because that video already spreading online was about to turn her quiet life upside down. By the next morning, millions of people would know her story. Some would praise her, some would question her, and some, like Chad, would try to tear her down all over again. But for now, in that moment, Sarah took a deep breath and lifted her chin. For the first time in years, she wasn't hiding. For the first time in years, she wasn't alone. And yet, none of them could predict what would happen the next day, because by sunrise, Sarah's face would be everywhere, on news channels, on social media feeds, in inboxes across the country. And with that spotlight would come challenges more intense than anything she had faced in war. Because the battlefield was about to move from Iraq to the internet. By sunrise, Sarah's quiet world was gone. The teenager's video had exploded overnight. Millions of views, thousands of comments, news anchors repeating the story on morning broadcasts. Headlines flashing across screens. Waitress revealed as hidden war hero after standing up to bully. The diner phone rang non-stop. Reporters camped outside. Strangers left flowers at the door. People from across the country and even across the world shared the video, praising her courage, her composure, her strength. But Sarah wasn't celebrating. She sat alone in her small apartment, phone buzzing with notifications she couldn't bring herself to read. For years, she had lived in silence, trying to bury the past. Now the past was louder than ever. Every scar felt exposed again, every memory sharper. A knock at the door startled her. It was Michael. He held the same photograph, worn and faded, but now laminated, protected. "You can't hide anymore," he said gently, "and you don't have to. The world finally sees you, not as broken, not as a victim, but as what you've always been, a guardian." His words hit deep. She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, that she didn't deserve the praise. But before she could speak, another knock came. This time, when she opened the door, it wasn't just Michael, it was the old veteran from the diner, along with 2 others she'd never met before. They rolled up their sleeves, showing faded ink, unit tattoos, different divisions, different battles. One by one, they looked her in the eye and said the same thing. "We know who you are. We've heard about you. We've been waiting for you to stop hiding." Sarah's throat tightened. For so long, she had carried her pain alone. Now, standing in her doorway were men who understood it without explanation. Meanwhile, Chad Morrison wasn't so lucky. By morning, his face was plastered across the internet too, but for the opposite reason. Clips of him mocking Sarah, laughing at her scars, shoving her shoulder, all of it replayed endlessly. Comments shredded him. His construction company fired him. Former friends distanced themselves. The internet had crowned Sarah a hero and Chad the villain. But Sarah wasn't celebrating his downfall either. She wasn't interested in revenge. When a reporter asked her what she thought about Chad losing his job, she simply said, "I don't need him to be punished. I just needed him to stop hurting people." Her answer went viral again. By the end of the week, Sarah was on national television, not for fame, not for money, but because she finally understood something. Her scars weren't a burden to hide, they were a story to share. She told the world about the nights she couldn't sleep, the weight of lives she couldn't save, the silence she endured when she came home. And people listened, really listened. Veterans wrote to her. Strangers thanked her. Young women said she gave them courage. The waitress who had once hidden in the corner of a diner was now a voice for thousands. But when asked if she felt like a hero, she shook her head. "I'm not a hero. The heroes are the ones who didn't come home. I just try to live in a way that honors them, even if that means serving coffee with a smile." The room fell silent. Even the anchors on live television couldn't speak for a moment, because it wasn't about fame. It wasn't about viral videos. It was about truth. Back at the diner, things changed too. Customers came not just for pancakes and coffee, but to meet her, to thank her, to shake her hand. Some even left notes on napkins. Simple words like, "You inspire me," or "Thank you for not giving up." And yet Sarah never stopped working. She still wiped down tables. She still poured coffee. She still greeted every customer with the same calm smile. But now, when people looked at her, they didn't see just a waitress. They saw resilience. They saw strength. They saw proof that scars don't define you. They remind you of what you've survived. As for Michael, he never let go of that photograph. But now, he didn't carry it out of grief. He carried it as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there are people willing to shield others from the fire. And whenever he saw Sarah at the diner, he smiled because he knew he had finally found his guardian again. Chad Morrison disappeared from the headlines, his name remembered only as a cautionary tale. But Sarah's story kept growing. She spoke at schools, at veteran centers, at shelters for the homeless. She reminded people that kindness matters, that silence feeds bullies, and that sometimes the quietest people are carrying the loudest battles inside. Her scars never faded, the memories never fully healed, but Sarah stopped running from them because she finally understood that her story wasn't about what she had lost, it was about what she could give. And that is how a small-town waitress became something far more powerful than a viral hero. She became a symbol, a living reminder that no matter what you've been through, no matter how broken you feel, your scars can become the very thing that lights the way for someone else. Because true strength isn't about never falling. It's about rising again, quietly, steadily, and with courage that leaves the world in awe